Zach Hyman continues to dominate the NHL, recording his record-breaking 16th postseason goal last night, proving that letting him walk is the biggest mistake in Leafs history. Also, Mark Giordano is not done, and he's coming back for his 20th season, and it may not be his last. And we're going to break all this down for you coming up on this episode of Hat Trick HQ. But before we get into it, we got to say that 78% of you guys watching these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you enjoy the NHL and you want to keep up to date on everything that's going to happen around this offseason, make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button. But with that said, let's jump right into the first topic of the video today, Mark, which is the biggest mistake in Leafs history. And yes, as we alluded to in the beginning of the video here, Zach Hyman recorded his 16th postseason goal, which is the most postseason goals in NHL history in the salary cap era, passing the likes of Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby. I mean, that is just insane when you're putting your name up there with two of the best of this era. And, I mean, Zach Hyman has been on a tear this season. If you just look at his regular season and postseason goals combined, he has 70. And you know who else has 70? Austin Matthews, Poppy. And as they say, Sam Reinhart is third on this list with 66. And they say here on the bottom, Mark, imagine if these two played on the same team. I mean, 140 goals between two guys. Leafs might win a cup then. But, I mean, Mark, this has been a crazy run from Zach Hyman that not a lot of people have expected. Yes, a lot of people are calling him a tap-in merchant, but if you've seen that goal he had last night, you can't deny how great this guy is at goal scoring.
Yeah, Zach Hyman's been incredible this season. This is the first time someone scored 16 goals since Pavel Bure did it for the Vancouver Canucks in 1994, which is 30 years ago. It's been outstanding just watching his game continue to develop. This is a guy that was drafted by the Florida Panthers, which is hilarious enough, was traded to Toronto for Greg McKegg. We see him make his way to the Edmonton Oilers after saying in an interview just this year that he wanted to return to Toronto, and it is looking like the biggest mistake. And Kyle Dubas really fumbled the bag on this. Zach Hyman has just been explosive for them, leading them in goals in the regular season, leading them in goals in the playoffs. He's been the missing piece this team needed, and this is why the team is on the verge of coming back from a 3-0 deficit and becoming the second team in NHL history to do it if they do win Game 7. Getting Hyman on the Leafs team would have been outstanding. I do want to give a shout out to Matthews for the fact that he only made the first round, and with goals combined in the playoffs and regular season, he's still tied for the first, even though Hyman has 16 goals right now. Having him on the Leafs would have been huge, but I think he fits perfectly on this Oilers team with some elite playmakers with Connor McDavid. You have Leon Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins. He fits perfectly up here, and I think he is going to be the guy that might be the Conn Smythe runner-up. I know it might go to a guy like Connor McDavid, but I think Zach Hyman's name is going to be in this bag for sure as well.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely be up there. And like you said, when you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on your team, if you win the cup, getting the Conn Smythe is going to be hard, but it's definitely well-deserved. You said it perfectly there. Without Zach Hyman, I don't think that this Edmonton Oilers team makes it to the Stanley Cup Finals, yet come back from a 3-0 deficit to push it to Game 7. I mean, this guy has just been phenomenal, and I hate that people keep calling him a tap-in merchant, because you still need to have the ability to put it in the net. Like, if me and Mark were parked in front of the net and McDavid throws us a pass, it's not going to go in. You need to have that ability to do it, and he's just phenomenal. And you know, what we alluded to in the title here is this is the biggest mistake in Leafs history. And if we take a look at a tweet from Chris Johnston, he says, looking back, I'm not sure the Leafs have ever made a bigger mistake than letting Zach Hyman walk away. That's an all-timer the organization never recovers from him. Mark, I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow, I know, for yourself, because you are a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and, you know, nobody could have seen this. Nobody could have seen Zach Hyman scoring 70 combined goals in the regular season or postseason. But I think this is, you know, great for him. And it just sucks for Leafs fans and the organization to see this happen as you go out in the round one of the playoffs and you see a former player have such a phenomenal postseason as he is right now.
Yeah, it seems like half the Oilers team are former Leafs players too. I mean, Cody Ceci's on the back end. You have Zach Hyman. You have so many players within this team that has played for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It seems like a lot of teams in the playoffs have this as well. But the biggest thing with Zach Hyman, I can understand, and if I want to play devil's advocate on this, With Zach Hyman, I know Dubas was worried after him coming off 2 knee injuries, he might slow down, he might decline, but it's showing that Hyman is pushing through it and he's better than ever. This guy signed on a great contract. I believe it's 5.5 million over a 6-year span. So they still have him for multiple more seasons. He's not done. He's going to continue to grow, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Zach Hyman score another 50-goal season next season and just continue to put salt on the wound for Leafs fans.
Yeah, definitely. We see all these players kind of leave Toronto and excel. I mean, it sucks to see for you, but I mean, we've seen like Kadri. I mean, he excelled as soon as he left Toronto. He was heavily criticized in Toronto for his play, and no other than Phil the Thrill. I mean, he went out and won cups after leaving Toronto. It just, it's got to be hard to see, obviously myself, not as a Toronto fan, all these players leave your organization who are heavily scrutinized by the media, just go find a new home, the grass is greener on the other side, and just push their game to the next level.
Yeah, the biggest thing would have been if we'd seen Jake Gardiner go out and score a Stanley Cup goal. Obviously, that didn't happen. But there's so many players. You see guys like Carl Gunnarsson. You see Tyler Bozak. These guys went on to new teams, won the Stanley Cup. So it's just a matter of the Leafs either being completely cursed or these players just waiting to have a breakout when they get out of Toronto. Either way, it's really hard to watch all these players really excel in other environments.
Yeah, I don't know what the feeling is like, but I mean, it gotta suck for Leafs fans. Sorry, guys, for bringing that up, but we're gonna get into the next topic on the video today. We want to hear your guys' thoughts on Zach Hyman. Do you think it's the biggest mistake in Leafs history? Let us know down below in the comment section. But we're gonna get into the second topic of the video today, which is Gio is not done. And yes, we did get a quote from Gio's agent here where he said, Mark has made the decision that he's playing for a few more years. He said he feels very confident. He's been talking to a lot of people who tell him, don't quit until they make you. I mean, this is big coming out from Gio. Nobody really expected him to come back. Everybody said he's probably done. He's been in the league for a long time. He's been a great defender for a long time. Coming into his prime a little later in his career, which was a bit weird, but I think, Gio coming back, what would be at 41 years of age for his 20th season, saying that he's going to play a few more years, kind of reminds you of a Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah, the biggest thing with Gio is before the season starts, when the puck drops for the first regular season game, Mark Giordano is going to be 41 years old. The thing with this guy is, though, he's so physically in shape, he hasn't shown that he's slowing down completely. Obviously, you see him take a step back. I mean, Father Time's undefeated, and this is a guy that you cannot win a battle against. But with Mark Giordano, he's really pushing his body. This is a guy I could definitely see playing in a bottom six role for a lot of teams, maybe as a seventh defenseman at the very worst. Coming in, showing leadership, playing games, blocking shots. Like you said, this was a guy that won the Vezina in his mid-30s. It's a thing that a lot of people don't end up doing. But Mark Giordano is really pushing himself. He's a warrior. And with him coming back to the Leafs, I actually would really like this as a sixth or seventh defenseman. I mean, we've seen time after time people deal with injuries. There's so many teams that have injuries just kind of hoarding up on them. So getting a guy like Gio in as a guy that can fill in the lineup, we've seen him play good this year before he went down with an injury. Obviously, we didn't see him in the playoffs due to just him not really getting into a lot of regular season games or him battling back from this injury. But I don't think he's done. Is his best years behind him? Yes, they most likely are. But I still think he has a lot of value to show for a lot of franchises. And I do hope Brad Treliving and the Leafs still see this value in a guy like him as well.
Yeah, 100%. Even just the value of being a veteran guy with all that experience and sharing your knowledge with the young defensemen coming up, kind of mentoring them, that has a lot of value for a Leafs team with, where they have a little bit, a few younger defensemen that he could really help mentor and shape them into great defensemen. And like you said, I would like to see him back in Toronto. The only other place I could really see Gio going in my mind is maybe back to Calgary. I think maybe ending his career in Calgary could be a really great moment for him, but I think having him in Toronto, there's a lot of value there. You don't have to go out and spend a big lot of money to bring him back. So I just love to see Gio back in Toronto personally.
And I mean, at the end of the day, we know what's going to happen. He's going to go sign with a Western Conference team, maybe sign with the Boston Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning, some random team, end up having a career year at the age of 41, lifting the Stanley Cup, just in the least fashion like Zach Hyman might be doing Monday night if they complete the comeback. But I think bringing in Gio for a vet minimum, maybe you give him some performance bonuses, something to keep him within this franchise. I think he adds something on the ice, off the ice, and in the future, you can bring him in as a development role. Maybe we see Mark Giordano behind the bench for the Toronto Maple Leafs sometime in the future. But I do hope we get to see Gio back in the blue and white next season at least.
Yeah, 100%. You'd love to see Gio come in maybe as a defensive coordinator one day behind the bench for the Leafs, and I think he has the perfect mind for it. He has such high hockey sense, such high hockey IQ, and it'd be great to see him back in Toronto, but I wouldn't mind if he went back and had the, kind of retirement role over in Calgary. I think that would be a cool situation for him as well. But we want to hear your guys' thoughts on Gio down below in the comment section. Would you like to see him back on the Leafs roster next year? Let us know down below. We're going to get into everybody's favorite topic here, which is comment of the day. And the comment of the day today goes to Hidden in Plain Sight. He says, I read that comment as Ullmark trying to get his way to Toronto, saying he'd work well with Wall like with Swayman. And I thought that was a very interesting take on that kind of diss towards Samsonov yesterday we covered on the channel. But what do you think, Mark? Do you think maybe Ullmark's trying to pull the leg of Toronto here?
Well, I'm going to be honest. If I'm Allmark and I'm seeing the rumors that the Ottawa Senators are on me, I would definitely want to play for the Leafs instead. The window's definitely more open. I know Mark Mathot said, hey, the Sens will be better than the Leafs in 2 years. That's been 6 years, Mark. What's happening here? But I think there's a possibility. I do believe the Leafs are currently on his no-trade list. I mean, it's a goalie hell spotlight for people. But I would love to see Allmark coming in with Wall as the tandem, kind of like with Swayman.
Yeah, that would be really fun to see. I mean, Ullmark could really help out Wall as well in that mentorship role, and I think a lot of these teams are going to start adapting this two tandem because it's worked so well for teams like Boston. So it'd be cool to see 1A goalie come in with Wall, and they kind of split the starts. I think that could really work out well for Toronto. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure down below hit that like button while you're down there. Comment on the video. You might be featured on the next comment of the day, and we're on the roll for 4,000 subscribers here on the channel. So if you want to stay up to date on everything that's to come this offseason in the NHL, make sure down below and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to check out that video we did on Ullmark yesterday, it'll be popping up on your screen right now. But as always, I've been your host KC alongside my co-host Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.